what is the latest skill or trick you've learned in the game that helped you?
The latest trick I learned in the game that helped me.
Mhm.
Hmm. It's a good question. I feel like I learned all my tricks a while ago. um, I would say probably the DT reload is probably the most recent thing that I've learned. The DT flick.
Mhm.
That's really important for close range fights these days. So learning how to flick that DT reload really fast to really dominate those close range fights and hit those 72s. Definitely a really big one.
Nice.
Also, maybe op quick scoping. Those
Interesting.
come in clutch really um really well.
Any
Um,
specific like ways how you practice that, or kind of any
how I
tricks
practice
kind of you
that, yeah,
discovered that? Yeah.
it's really just going. So I started picking up op and I was practicing, just hitting my shots, and then as I started to get better, when I was fighting people that were a little less skilled, a little slower, I just start practicing the quick scope, right? I just scope in and shoot. And I just did that and did that. And, it started off like miss. But then after, a day or two of missing, I started to hit the shots more consistently. So just in pubs, when you're running around, if you're a pretty skilled player, you do pretty well. You pick up op and you run across somebody who, maybe isn't all that great. You can use them as practice to hone your skills. And so yeah, that's kind of how I practice it. Just practicing with op, but then once I started to get good with the op, just in general, just
Nice.
practicing those really fast quick scopes. It's kind of like Seiko. Like if you're good at rapid firing the Seiko, just pointing shoot, pointing shoot, pointing shoot. Well, it's the same thing with op. You just have to grab that grip button right before you shoot. You just point, grip, shoot, point, grip, shoot, point, grip, shoot. Yeah.
Nice. By the way, how do you hold op? Like, do you hold it close to your eyes so like to minimize the
Um.
distance, or?
No, I can just hold my hand out. I would say kind of like 6 inches from my chin. And I play with
Interesting.
zero offhand influence, which is kind of important for opping, I would say. So that your offhand doesn't influence where you scope in at. You just point with the one hand, and then my other hands, I'd say I put like a good 8 inches in front of the other, and then bam bam.
Nice. And motion dampening is 100, right? So it's 100-0.
Motion dampening is 100 yet, but for quick scoping that doesn't matter so much because really there shouldn't be any motion, right? It should just be you point and then. But yep.
Nice. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Um, if you could give some advice to yourself 6 months ago, maybe 3 things you would recommend yourself to do and 3 things you would recommend yourself to avoid, what would it be?
In battle royals, I feel like looting is pretty important. If you're approaching fights, and you're not full health, you don't have a ton of meds, you don't have mats, there's a significantly less chance that you're going to win that fight. If you approach a fight, you're full health, you got lots of meds, you got all the utility you need, then there's a much higher chance that you're going to succeed in those fights. Along with that, one of the things that I feel like I specialize in or do a lot better than other players is just healing mid fight. If you watch my stream, you see, I'll be like
All the
mid
time.
fight, I'll be like 50 HP, and then all of a sudden, I'm 200 HP like 3 seconds later.
Hmm.
And
Yep,
it's
yep.
that constant healing, because then you kind of throw off your opponents, right? Because they're calling out like, oh, he's low, and then they rush you, they pull out DT, and then all of a sudden you're not low anymore, and they're expecting to be fighting somebody who's low health and they're not, and it kind of throws them off and whatnot. Um, One more thing that I would recommend, um, always always be moving, especially when you're fighting more than one opponent. Don't stay in one place very long because it's easy for them to start to surround you, get angles on you. If you're constantly moving and moving the fight around, then you're constant in taking new peaks and um, attacking from new areas. Then your opponents are gonna be scrambling around trying to focus you. It's a lot easier to flank somebody when they're just holding a single position. But if they're all over the place, then it creates a lot of randomness and a lot of unexpectability. So yeah, 3 things I would recommend not doing. Don't pin drop. It's kind of just cheese. It's not really helping you get better at the game. It's just
Yeah,
my
totally agree.
opinion. Don't fly it unnecessarily, especially mid fight. It's really easy to shoot somebody in the air. That's probably the most the easiest time to land shots on somebody is when they're flying, because your body goes horizontal, so you have a full body length of room to lead your shot and hit that target. So whenever you fly, it should be more for moving around the map, but not really used in fighting, I would say. Fighting, stay on the ground, stay on cover. Even if you're trying to run away from a fight, you really got to think, if I'm going to fly, do my opponents have angles on me while I'm flying? Because if they do, there's a good chance you're going to take a ton of damage when you fly. So it might be better just to walk on the ground and build. One of the things I like to do when I'm running from people, I'll build like this and then fly off that, because that build covers my back, right? And I'll do that. And so now if they want to shoot me, they got to break the build first. So just flying on the ground and moving like that.
Nice.
So then you can kind of fly, but you're staying low ground. So you're covered by some natural cover more easily,
Mm-hmm.
and then you also have the build covering your back.
Nice. So one thing I thought about that. If somebody's chasing you,
Mm-hmm.
they can use the same build kind of to chase you. So I tend to do after
Mm-hmm.
that. Like if you find a hard cover, I'll just kind of hide
Mm-hmm.
and try to shoot my own builds just to make sure that they cannot use the same thing.
That's interesting. I actually never thought about that. Yeah, you're right.
Nice, thanks a lot. By the way, speaking about the health and shield loadout, like what do you prefer? How many banana you pick up if you use
So
banana
yeah,
at all?
what I call a quote unquote full med stack would be 2 bananas, 3 shakers, and 2 sodas. And what I like to do is whenever I get cracked, I pop 2 sodas and then I hit a shaker. So now my sodas are ticking up while I'm shaking.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time I pop that shaker, I'm about 80 shield. And then so the 2 sodas and the shaker gets you to 90. And then for that extra 10, I'll typically look around for like a 10 or 20 shield pot to finish off the full 100. Because usually there's, at least one little shield pot laying around somewhere around.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 sodas, pop the shaker, look around, grab a 10 pot, boom, hit the shaker, and you're 100 shield. And you can shield back up to 100 in about 5-ish seconds. Yeah,
Oh,
and then
interesting.
yep, and then I don't ever carry health sodas because, in my opinion, if you're low and your health is cut into your your actual green health, then sodas aren't going to cut it, because you really want to get your health back ASAP. You don't want to be waiting for the sodas to tick up. So those bananas are an instant 50 HP. That's going to keep you going. If you pop sodas and you're waiting, then maybe somebody snipes you while those sodas are ticking up, and even though you popped enough soda to get you back to 100, you're not 100, so you die. Where if you pop those 2 bananas real quick, you're already 100 health, you get sniped, you survive.
Nice, interesting. I just realized one thing about what you said about kind of combining shakers and soda is that
Mm-hmm.
after that you can pick any shield. Like if it's shaker, you can take shaker. If it's soda, you can take soda. So you're not picky. Like you loot
Mm-hmm.
after you restore your shield in the most efficient way as well. That's very good. That's very good advice.
Yeah, and then of course I always recommend carrying sodas, because mid fight, maybe you don't have time to shake because you got people like literally pushing you. So with the sodas, you can pop them off really quick mid fight. You don't have without waiting, and though it does take time to tick, maybe you find some hard cover really quick, pop 3 sodas, and then you move around and you just kind of avoid the fight for a second to let those sodas tick up, give you some extra health. And then once you got 50 shield back or so, maybe you're confident enough to kill somebody, grab their 50 pot, and keep going. But yeah, constantly thinking about how much health you have going into every engagement is really important, because DT does like 140-ish damage in 2 shots if they hit their shots. So if you're less than that, then you're 2-shottable with the DT. You're gonna go down real fast. So making sure that you're at least 150 HP or more every time you go into engagement is really important, in my opinion.
Nice. Thanks a lot. That's super helpful. And last question is there anything you're practicing right now or working on any skills?
One of the things I want to work on is build and being a little more methodical with how I place my build. Right now, it's kind of just spam click build. But using build to like take high ground or kind of create weird angles, and also just being more thoughtful about how I cover myself with build, because I find sometimes I'll leave holes there here and there that get me killed. But yeah, building's what pretty tough though in this game as far as like being really methodical. But I have seen some players kind of master it, so I'm kind of thinking about that, just utilizing build a little more efficiently and effectively. And other than that, uh, not really. I think I could be, covering myself a little more in general in fights. I think a lot of the times, I'll overextend or over peak a lot. I could head peak a lot more, in my opinion. I'm not super a huge fan of head peeking because it is kind of cringe, but it is super effective. So a lot of times, I'll do like full body expose when I don't really necessarily need to and stuff like that. I know a lot of the times you can peak build. I don't always peak build as much as I could be, and whatnot. Like a lot of times I'll go for a full body strafe over a peak, and sometimes that gets me punished. So that's another thing I'm thinking about currently. One thing I will say, I see a lot of kind of, I would say like good players that are kind of coming up, and they're starting to get good at the game. They're starting to utilize build. I'll see them peak build, but they're overconfident with it, right? Like they'll be like 2 build up like this, and they're shooting and shooting, but all I have to do right here is kind of aim midsection, and my first shots won't hit you. But as soon as they break this build, all those bullets coming your direction are gonna hit you, and you're gonna take like at least probably 100 damage if the person has good accuracy. So what I would say, if you are peeking build, the very instant your build starts getting shot at, you need to move. You need to be out of there. Otherwise, you're going to take so much damage. So that's one of
Oh,
the
this is
things.
super useful.
Yeah.
This is like usually my problem as well, and I realize that you shouldn't wait until your build is destroyed. But what I usually do, I usually drop,
No.
and it takes some time. So flying on the side is much more efficient.
Yeah. I wouldn't, because it's real. Like the drop's the expected thing, right? So as soon as that build breaks, I'm gonna pull down and track that drop. But going to the side, that's a little more random. And then I would also build with it, just get out of there, get away from that stream of bullets as fast as possible.
Nice. Thanks a lot. This is very useful and very helpful. Thanks a lot.